Hold on, guys. We're going recording. We're gonna go live. Ooh, that just made me really big. Okay, there we go. All right. Hi, everybody. As you guys pop in and join us, I know that we had quite a few people register for this. I'm sorry to be starting a couple minutes late tonight. We were on and chatting, and my internet and cable just went and everything shut down. And it's been raining all day, so I'm not like, it was Michelle and I were talking about some energy work stuff, and then all of a sudden everything just like powered down. And it's been raining all day, so I'm not like, it was, okay, mute here. All right, and we are here and we are live. Storming everywhere, Katie said. You know what, I don't doubt that. It was just a little bit of a shock because I've never run into this issue right as I was about to go live for the Sage method. So fun times. But that's good to know. Super windy in Maine. Yeah, Jan, I'm in New Hampshire. I guess we're supposed to have some pretty solid storms rolling through. Awesome. So when Brenda gets back, we'll do a little intro and it'll be great.
And she froze up again.
I had to evict my dog.
And Stacy froze up again, so I guess that brings your co-hosting.
Oh, yay, fun. So, hi, I'm Brenda, and Stacy's not here with us. Michelle's with us. I'm more of a recent graduate of Beau's than Michelle is. So if I tend to stumble and fall, that's to be expected, I guess. Yay, Stacy's back. Unmute yourself.
Sorry, guys, we are going to do the best that we can. So I made Brenda the co-host just to cover my rear end in case I got booted so that we wouldn't lose everything. So I'm going to do a brief introduction and we'll jump right into questions. So if you guys have any questions, please let us know if you have anything in the chat would be great. I have a list here. Michelle has a few of them as well. So my name is Stacy Nestor and I am one of the Sage practitioners, also a Sage team member. With me tonight are Michelle Millen and Brenda Fritz, also amazing Sage practitioners. Do you guys want to do a brief introduction of yourself?
I kind of sort of already did.
Okay, cool. I mean, I bounced for a second, so.
Yeah, I will. I'm Michelle Millen and I'm a Sage practitioner, which means that I did a year-long study with Beau and worked one-on-one with her. And I'm on the other side of it now. Stacy and I actually graduated about the same time. And so I work with a crossover team and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
And we graduated from the practitioner thing over a year ago now. It's been over a year. I still can't believe it's been that long.
See, I just graduated in June.
Which is fantastic.
So I'm still a newbie.
No. So I am going to jump questions. All right. The first question that I'm going to ask came from, I don't know, am I still here?
Yes.
You're here. Yeah.
Everything on my computer just shifted and I was like, oh no, did I drop again? Can you offend your guides?
I'm going to jump in on that and say, yes, you can. But it depends. If it's intentional, yes, you can. And they will get back at you. I mean, you know, they'll let you know that that's not nice, basically. Because they're at a higher vibration than we are. And it's in all of our best interest to learn to level up like that. So when we fuss at our guides, and I'm really bad about that, that's why I jumped in on this one. My main guide's name is Davy. And when I fuss at him, he will actually fuss right back at me. and literally ask me, well, what do you expect? And it's like, it'll make me stop and think. And I'll go, okay, I'm sorry, I meant this. And then we can communicate again. It's almost like there's a hiccup because we're human, our left brain will kick in. And they'll remind us what our place is here, because we all have our path, we all have our intentions, we all have where we're going, and they will put us back in our place where we belong.
So I think what you're saying is a little different than how I feel offense is. When I think of I think of hurting my guide's feelings. Like they're giving us opportunities and we're saying, no, we don't want that opportunity. What you're saying is you're questioning the things that they want you to do, or you don't agree with the direction that they want you to go in. And you're kind of, giving them a little bit of
Pushback, right?
Yeah, I don't necessarily feel that as offending. I feel that as questioning them and them saying, no, you do as I say. So whenever I think of offense, and I think it's because I didn't bring the full question in. The question was, can you offend your guides, with an example of this person put out, they wanted to buy a certain piece of equipment, and it was an older piece of equipment. They had been looking for it. And the next day they went into an antique shop and they found exactly what they were looking for, but it wasn't what they wanted. So they found what they asked for, but it wasn't, I'm going to say the shade of magenta that they were looking for. So they, instead of buying it, they chose not to, and they were worried that they offended their guides as such. And to that, I would say that would not offend our guides. To answer that piece of it, now they're giving us opportunities. We'll find what is best for us in that sense, but no, I don't think that offends them. Now, Brenda, you offend your guide every day.
Of course I do. I was a sailor, so sue me. I think our guides, I believe this. I was remembering back when I was a child, and believe me, the older you get, the more you remember your childhood. And I do remember when I tied my shoes for the first time, my guide actually taught me how to do it. Because my mother had told me to put on my shoes, we were going to go shopping. I put my shoe on, and I remember just concentrating really hard and sticking my foot up way in the air, showing Mom, I tied my shoe. She goes, see if you can do the other one. I was like, geez, thanks. But I really did. The other day, I recognized him and told him, thank you very much for being there when I was a kid and showing me the ropes on a lot of things. But our personalities with our guides, especially our main guides, they tend to sink in with each other. You can carp back and forth with each other, and you can be, you can just be yourself with your guides.
Oh, they're safe, right? They're safe.
Right. You can do no wrong in their eyes, really.
Yeah. So if you choose, magenta instead of the green that they provided you, it's okay. They'll keep giving you opportunities to find what you're looking for, is essentially what I'm getting from what you're saying, Brenda. Mm-hmm. Michelle, do you have any thoughts on that?
I have so many lines of thought I could go down right now. I'm not sure exactly which one to narrow in on, but I will say that I don't feel like we offend our guides, that they're there to guide us and to help us along the way. They kind of know what's going to happen anyway, because time is nonlinear there. And yeah, I know I've challenged mine and they've stuck by me, and I'm very grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also argued with my guide. So very similar to you, Brenda. My guide, I'll say something to me and I'll stop and I'll be like, oh, no, you didn't. And then he'll be like, no, that's what's going to happen. And I'm like, but no, I disagree with that. And, there have been times where I have met some emotional turmoil in my life, and I sit back and I look at my guide. My head guide is Simon. And I say, Simon, why now? And he meets that energy with his energy, and he'll be like, because you can handle it now. And I'm like, oh. And he's just there kind of laughing at me with all of the love, because one of the things that we have to remember is our guides are the embodiment of love. So while we may see them with human emotions, behind those human emotions is nothing but pure, unadulterated, divine, beautiful love. And that's pretty much the only thing that I can say. So offending them because you don't buy the purple dragon that, you know, they presented you is not going to affect the relationship or affect them. They'll be like, okay, that might have been that's what she asked for, but not in the capacity. Katie said, I think sometimes
And she froze again.
they expect us to give a little pushback because help you grow and learn. And some of those situations are uncomfortable, and some of those things you're not going to want to do. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need to learn to set boundaries. And sometimes setting boundaries also is with our guides. Hey, I need you to stop waking me up at 2 a.m. I need to sleep through the night. That's important. I'm human. You know, and they need those reminders just as much as sometimes we do. Cool. Any other thoughts before I move on to the next question? I can like feel your guide, Brenda, being like, I love it. Okay. Have you ever experienced a family member after they have crossed over?
Yes.
Would either of you like to share?
My mother actually came to me in a dream with another woman who was a mother of a friend of mine to tell one of her children, the friend's mother, one of her 3 children, that something was going to happen. They didn't tell me which one, so I didn't know who to talk to. Come to find out it was her middle child I was supposed to tell to watch out.
Okay. What about you, Michelle?
A couple of weeks ago, I had my aunt, I only had one, pass away. And when I was sitting at her funeral, she was definitely there and present. And that night, and I'll share a story because it's kind of a fun story. My sister, myself, and my cousin, who's her only child, were back at the hotel room. And my sister gets a little bit freaked out about all this stuff, like the energy moving around and stuff. And I was sitting there and I'm talking to both of them. And my aunt is present. She's in that room. She's there with us. She's happy we're together. And so I would see her and I would try not to stare too long because my sister would freak out, like, what's going on? So I couldn't, I had to kind of play it cool. But I would kind of look up and start talking. And then my cousin would say, oh, she's to the right of me right now, isn't she? And I'm like, yeah, she is. I say, do you see her? And she's like, no, I feel her. And then I'd be sitting there, I'd see her to the left of my cousin, and she'd be like, she's to the left of me now. And I'm like, do you see her? She's like, no, I feel her. It's like a zap of energy. And for me, I just thought it was really interesting how we pulled this information in differently. I see it where she feels like a zap. And so we try not to freak my sister out too bad, but she was definitely there. She was definitely present. And it really did bring some peace to my heart about it.
I was going to say it can actually really help the healing process sometimes. I was blessed, I'm going to say, with the opportunity to actually go to Michigan when my grandmother passed away in July, and being in her house and being able to go back and just, you know, spend time where she spent time. I could very much so feel her after she crossed. It was not for several, I'm going to say a couple months that I actually had the opportunity to like speak to or experience her, because I chose not to, because that can be a choice too. I needed to heal a little bit. So seeing her immediately for me would not have been, it would not have helped me heal. So yeah. Any other thoughts on that before I move on to the next question? This is a 2-part question. So part number 1 is, have your abilities always been with you? I see all of us. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. If yes, I'm going to start with you, Michelle. What's your earliest recollection?
Okay, so my abilities have always been there, but I haven't always been aware of them. Like I've had things in my life happen and I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. I never had fear around it. I had a curiosity around it. And it's only been in the last couple of years that it's really opened up for me. But my first recollection was shortly after my grandma passed away. I had to be like 11 or 12 years old. And I was home by myself and I heard someone call my name. And it stuck with me all these years. I don't question it. I know it was her. And so that was my very first experience that I can recall.
Brenda?
No. I was still in diapers and I remember scrying on the window pane of my bedroom. We had a black and white television and on the window pane, it was like a color TV. So it did scare me and I would hide under the covers because normally when you're laying there and looking out, I could see the stars or something and not people, you know. So yeah, it would startle me and I would hide under the covers. But it wasn't much longer after that of course my parents were starting to talk to us about, you know, the supernatural and other spirits and that kind of thing. And it calmed me down. And after that, when I saw something, it was like, okay, but I don't see things like I would like to, because I do think I kind of squelched it.
Oh, I feel like many of us do squelch it. I mean, even like I'm sitting here going, I always for as long as I can remember have been, you know, in like very psychic. And I actually like am rewinding a lot of my childhood where I was playing with imaginary creatures and stuff like that most likely were actually there. Maybe interdimensional stuff, but my first very strong memory of experiencing some sort of event happened when I was in my young teenage years and I was standing in my bedroom looking outside into my parents' yard. And I saw hundreds of people surrounding the house and didn't know why they were there. They were not moving. I was surrounded and it scared me and I shut everything down until my early to mid 20s. And what I learned was that was my first opportunity at a very young age to step into mediumship, because oftentimes spirits are drawn to someone that can hear, see, or experience them in any capacity. So I was surrounded by these spirits who were just waiting for me to help them, listen to them, be there for them, whatever it was that they needed, cross them over. And I was so young that I was so unprepared for it that I didn't understand what I was seeing. So I just turned it off. So, I got an awesome question from Teresa in the Facebook chat. So I'm going to read this to you guys. She asks, what is it like to work one-on-one with Beau? Terrifying.
Absolutely.
It was
She
almost
said-
like that feeling at first. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
She goes on to say, it must be amazing to pick her brain. Does she test you? I'm so intrigued. So I'm going to say 100% yes, she tests you 1,000,000%, because we would probably still be in the program if I'm sorry, somebody else commented on it. It was a very sweet comment. And it just, we would still be studying under her if we had not been tested, because Beau really likes to make sure that the people who get certified as sage practitioners really do, stand behind, I'm going to say the sage name, really, truly. Is that the best way to put it?
Of course.
Yeah. So what is it like to work with Beau?
Well, it was really funny because you're the very first time you're one-on-one with her, she wants you to read for her. And she said, okay, read for me. And I just reached for my cards like I would anybody else. And I started reading for her. And she just looked at me like, well, no, I didn't have any hesitation or anything, because it was almost like I had already gotten into the flow with her. It's talking to Bo is almost just, it's an otherworldly experience to begin with. So when she told me to read for her, it didn't surprise me until after we disconnected. I went, oh, I read for her. So for me, it was like a boomerang. It hit me in after, not during. But it's awe-inspiring. I miss it. I really love talking to her one-on-one like that. I feel like sometimes she's got more information in her little bitty finger than I do in my entire body. She's just absolutely amazing to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And I would agree with all of that, but I didn't have that initial feeling you did when she asked me to read. I was terrified. Like my hands were shaking. I probably couldn't even shuffle my cards. I probably didn't even have them in the same room with me. And yeah, I was completely terrified. But what I would love to say about working with Bo, she is exactly how you see her in the videos. She's exactly how you think she's going to be. She is down to earth. She takes pride in what she does, but she always is looking for a way to like grow or to expand and to help. And it comes from such a genuine place that it just speaks to my soul. And I'm so appreciative. And like Brenda, I do miss the one-on-one class or interactions now.
I do too. I do too. It answered so many questions that I had that I'm like, can we just sit and I can ask you all of the questions that come up randomly? No, I agree with both of you, but a little different. So I had the tremendous opportunity of taking the initial stage course with Bo in person over a month-long period. It was weekends, days. There were 3 of us in the class, if memory serves. And on the very last class, we had to read for Bo. We got brought into a separate room and we sat down in front of her and we had to read. So I had already experienced that level of anxiety. So when I started the practitioner training, it wasn't as scary, but it's still, when you're sitting in front of somebody for the first time and you are reading, even and you could have been doing it for so long, but Bo is such an amazing teacher because she really meets you where you are at, and she challenges you individually. So none of us, when we went through the practitioner training, did the exact same training, because none of us read the same way and none of us experience our intuitive abilities the same way. We all kind of have a niche in a way that we kind of found. Like my niche is working towards almost like a holistic approach to health, but also helping clear energetic life blocks. So I love doing general life readings. Michelle, you're an emotional like in reader, and it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I do pick up a lot of emotions behind situations and places, and yeah, that energy.
And
Brenda, you have a Davy in your pocket.
Davy is awesome. He gave, to brag on him a little bit, he loves to be bragged on, by the way. He gave me a 78 card Oracle deck earlier this month, and he is now helping me shop around for little publishers. So he's he's a task driver.
Yeah. So to fully answer your question, Teresa, it really was an amazing training, and really geared towards each person and their strengths. And, I'm going to say even their weaknesses, because one of the weaknesses that I held was I was trying to avoid mediumship the entire time. I didn't want to touch it, but that goes back to that experience that I kind of shared in my childhood. And through the coaching and the experience, it really helped me expand. Yes, she helps you. You typically will have an idea when you're working with her where your gifts are stronger, but she helps you nurture them and helps you kind of hone in on them. And I'm just going to say really quickly, Mike, that is the sweetest compliment ever. Thank you so much. I just want to acknowledge you. I did give you a little heart, but it's great to see that you're here with us tonight, Mike. Any other thoughts on that before I ask the next question?
Well, I'm just curious. So I'm going to ask it. Did you, any of you, like during your one-on-one sessions, ask Bo, like, what do you see around me right now? Because I thought about it so many times, but I never did, because I knew that's not what we were there for. And she was there to teach. And that's where I left it. But I was always curious, like,
No, I didn't, because I knew she'd be like, why don't you tell me?
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. She will turn it around on you like that. But I did suggest that she give us a reading as a graduation gift. I'm still waiting for mine. But no, she has.
Yeah, I knew better than to ask that question, because I knew. I mean, and that's the beautiful thing is Bo is so genuine that you get to know her, and you know who you're getting, you know what you're getting. And because I knew that, I never would have thought to be like, hey, so what do you see around me? Though she did help me do a clearing in my house once, because there was some funky happenings that I was bringing home from the cemetery.
Ooh.
She's
I like
amazing. Just amazing.
I like to exercise in cemeteries. It's fine. Don't judge me, Brenda. Don't judge me. Okay. Sidebar note: state of New Hampshire, cemeteries tend to be safer here than running on the road, and they clear the pathways, and people don't drive 50 miles an hour in cemeteries. And it's very quiet because nobody's talking to you. I say that laughing because it's not true.
Being from Louisiana, I've been to New Orleans, to the graves where all the graves are above ground in Louisiana because of the water tables being so close. So yeah, cemeteries are a lot of fun. They're very quiet.
Not all. So before I move on to the next question, just because this is kind of a fun little tidbit to share, when they are digging a hole, digging a grave to bring someone else in and go through that entire process, cemeteries get very active and very loud, because it's almost as though all of the spirits that are already there are coming in to welcome someone else. And it is almost an out of world energy that you're walking through, because you can just feel so much love and warmth and welcoming in there. It's really interesting. So that's the other reason I like to walk in cemeteries. Okay. And I do not walk on graves, just so everybody knows. I stay on the paths. I respect cemeteries. I love the energy, but I respect them very much so. Do you see in your mind's eye or outside of your body?
In the head.
I see both.
Lucky.
I see shapes, silhouettes, sparkles, colors move across the room around me. I have a few going right now. So I do see outside, but I also see inside.
I would say very similar to that. My mind's eye sees, I get the most information internally, but I see vibrationally when I look at people. So I have to be very mindful, and I really do ensure that I GCP when I'm out in public and, surrounded by people, because I don't want to read people. And when I kind of am in someone's space, it's very challenging to not pick up on their energy signatures and their vibration. And I am very ethical in that. When I'm in public, I do not read people. When I'm not in a space for reading, I do not read. So that can be challenging though. But I can tell you walking into a room, I don't want to go sit next to that guy, that girl. I'm good. I don't want to be in that energy.
It's almost like having an antenna.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you see yourself as more of a psychic or a medium?
I'm a psychic. I don't see squat. All of my information, Davey's going, all your information comes from me. I guess all my information comes from Davey. From my guides, my higher self. I don't necessarily have to get it from a spirit. I sometimes just have a knowing. So I'm more of a psychic than anything. I apologize if that was my computer. I thought I turned it off. The noise.
No worries. Michelle?
I tend to lean more naturally and more comfortably into the psychic side of things, pulling a lot of information from there. The medium side is there also. And
you have somebody with you right now, I can tell.
I do have someone with me right now. I'm not sure who it is. But the medium side, like in readings, while I see it, I'm going to share that information. I get in my own head about it because I think it would be so hard if I was wrong, or if I got it wrong, or, I'm just not comfortably stepping into the medium side yet, although I do see it and experience it.
So I would honestly place myself right in the middle. I wouldn't say that I'm more psychic or more medium, because it depends on the day and it depends on what the need for the person that's sitting in front of me is, how I step in. And I don't say that lightly, because I definitely would prefer to say, yeah, I'm way more psychic. But I struggled so long with the mediumship realm that I can't deny that. And I joke around about having fun in cemeteries and stuff like that. But what I will say is, very honestly, it took me a very long time to be comfortable enough to work with spirits that are not crossed over, or have crossed over and have messages for someone, that I can't deny that that's a big piece of who I am too. So I would put myself kind of in the middle.
And how did you get more comfortable, Stacey, leaning more into that medium side and like trusting yourself to bring the message forward that's being shown?
So very much so, like Brenda, I have a Simon who does things, and I don't realize they're happening until it's too late. So he started having me do clearings, or he started me with energy, doing an energy clearing, which was a very different experience, but one that I stepped into very naturally. And then I started clearing stuck souls without realizing what I was doing, which then allowed me to be comfortable enough to explore it. And from there, I really had to walk through my fear. And I think that's the best way to explain it. So I had to meditate a lot on, releasing that fear and understanding what was behind this and stuff like that. And now the fear, occasionally has come up on a few different clearings, because there have been some not great things, but I stand in my own power so much now that when those things have come up, I'm able to put a stop to it immediately. Does that answer that question, Michelle?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And you just learn to trust yourself too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You kind of, you do without a lot of, as your intuitive abilities grow, don't you feel like you kind of step more into the trusting yourself, and just it expands?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or trusting your guide, Brenda?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I can hear him going, she knows. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Teresa said, another question. Are there requirements to join the Sage Practitioner program? Life keeps interrupting my daily practices. I've taken the SAGE method 3 times, only completed it once. As long as you've completed the SAGE method once, you can step into the SAGE practitioner program. That's an email to info@thesagemethod.com, and they can send you more information about that. The requirement is essentially the SAGE method. SAGE method 1. The main course. So. Has it been easy to integrate your abilities into your everyday life?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
You want to
for me-
expand on that a little bit, or are you just going to tell us yes and move on?
Well, kind of, sort of, yeah, I need to. A lot of times people want to know about guide communication, and that's valid because it's good. He's trying to talk to me while I'm talking. That's rude. A lot of information comes from your guides. A lot of people do want to know about guide communication, and you'll a lot of times we'll do the meditation of what do I need to know. I developed that into, I come into this room here and I go, okay, what are we doing today? And that's the way I've developed it, because it's not, Davey's like, you already know what you need to know. It's what you need to be doing that we need to get together on. And that's what I've learned to ask now is, okay, what are we doing today? So when I go to bed the night before, a lot of times I do not know what I'm going to be doing the next day, though.
I wish I could say the same. Michelle?
I find that integrating it into my personal life, my personal practices and beliefs it has been very easy. But when it comes to letting others know, I'm still struggling, and I feel like I do a disservice to myself not feeling comfortable telling like close friends about it. There are a few people I've shared this information with, and they think like, oh, it's a party trick or something. And I'm like, no, it's a little deeper than a party trick. And, I've been judged by some people. So it's just really kind of knowing my audience, but to put it completely out there to friends, I haven't done that yet. But I have all you, so I can talk to any one of you and bounce ideas off of. So I'm not like isolated in that way, but I would like to fully integrate it and it just be a part of who I am and not feel like judged.
Would you say that you're easing into it in a way? Like you're allowing it to integrate, but you're kind of taking your time with it more so than anything?
Right. Yeah, no, it's integrated fully with me, but yeah, in the social, I'm letting more and more people know that that's a part of who I am, and you just accept it. I mean, I'm not judging other people, and so I just don't want to be judged. I want to be able to live my life and believe what I feel and just know it. And yeah, I'm easing into it. That's a good way to put it, Stacy.
Well, and I know that it's fully integrated in you. I think I was more asking about the social aspect of it, because that sounds like you're easing into it and you're taking your time with that, which is perfectly fine, because there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer either.
Right. No, and it's just that judgment piece. It's just so hard. And again, I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice. I feel like I'm doing my guides a disservice not to be able to do that. So it is something I'm aware of, and I do work on every day.
So I will say for me, I kind of let it be front and center, because it's a demonstration of who I want to have in my space. And I say that knowing full well that there are probably many people that I have lost because I'm very open about being a psychic medium. And I can't, like, right now, as I talk about this, I can't really come up with any like solid examples of that, but I know because I'm very upfront and I am who I am. And this is, I can't not, I'm choosing not to be me, but it took me a long time to get to that point. And that's coming from years of trying to be inauthentic. I feel like the SAGE team, the SAGE, and I include you guys in that, the SAGE practitioners, everybody, that we have the ability to know that are training under Beau, that have trained under Beau, have really weirdly seen me become more authentic, even in the Sage Circle. Like I look back at videos of myself even 2 years ago and I'm like, I don't know her. Like, but how cool is that though, to be able to see this major transformation, not just energetically, but also with the person that you're watching too. And that's how long it's taken me to go, you know what, like I walk up to people, introduce myself, tell them what I do, and honestly say, yeah, I'm a psychic medium and it's awesome. And if they turn around and walk the other way, I'm like, bye.
I love that. You've just fully embraced it. And I will say, anyone who's talks to me for like a minute or two, the way I talk, you can tell I'm definitely on a spiritual path and trying to stay authentic. And I just, those words are hard for me, but people in my everyday life.
Yeah, it's well, and it's also it's you're kind of in a transformative time where you're really becoming and stepping into and learning new footing sometimes that you really have to allow to yourself to ease into it at times. I don't personally am not an ease into anything person. Like I'm like, let's go full on and then figure out how to fix it after. It can be problematic. Any more thoughts, Brenda?
I was just thinking that it's the nicest thing, well, the worst thing about life, the nicest thing about life, the only constant in life is change. And the nice thing about having your guides and your guide communication and this kind of higher vibrational living is to be able to go with the changes and not hurt so much when you bounce. So yeah, I find it's actually an easier life to live because you are truer to yourself than you are worrying about other people.
I love that. And I'm actually going to add a little bit more to that, if you don't mind, Brenda, because I know for me, coming from my background, you know, I have a master's of psychology, and, you know, I am also in the psychic, you know, I'm a psychic medium, and I've heard individuals say the two don't make sense together. And, you know, I'm writing a paper on being a psychic medium for a PhD right now, because I do believe the two go very well hand in hand. And it's all about that growth and development and understanding how what we choose to do in our behaviors can also be reflected in the ability to communicate with our guides, or the ability to sense and see and feel on a completely different level.
And of course, Davey's been being from Ireland. He's showing me the tree of life, where all how all the roots and the branches, even it's all interconnected. And he's saying that you're going to be able to weave that very well. And
my hope.
Oh goodness, I just got goosebumps.
I just got full body chills too, and already said that, that's
like,
my goal.
Oh my! He said you have this silver thread that you're weaving through the paper. He said it's beautiful.
Tell him that I said thank you, and it's because my guide's helping me write. The paper took a direction that I was not anticipating, and I'm loving it. It's probably one of my favorite papers that I've ever written. But it's really interesting because being able to use psychology as a study and as the scientific background and demonstrate how, you know, intuitive abilities can also be utilized and seen the same way. That's truly like, and I'm going to talk about myself for a second, but that's why I'm getting a PhD. That's why I'm going to school, is because I want to be able to prove that intuition is a thing that we can school and we can work on and we can develop, and I want to prove it.
It's the one thing, proving it is awesome, because beyond that, it's learning to depend on it, to trust it, to listen and go, okay, instead of going this way, I'm going to go this way because
Yep.
baby told me to. So yes, we have to, everything's so interconnected and that's, I think the whole thing about tonight is how interwoven life really is, and how one thing will bloom over here and then another season something will bloom over here. He's just saying how if we learn to rely on it, then all we have to do is take in the wonder of it all.
Absolutely. I love that. Any other thoughts, Michelle?
No.
One more question that I have, and I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Otherwise, I would definitely be including them in here. So if there are any other questions out on the Facebook land or in the Zoom chat, just, feel free to pop them in there and I'll ask them. But this is the last one that I have jotted down. Is that a word? With the holidays coming up, is there an uplifting experience you would like to share?
I'll jump
Michelle,
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this happened actually last Christmas. And I don't know if I was in a lucid dreaming state, but it felt very, very real. I was in bed. There was nobody else in the room with me. My husband had already gotten up. And I felt someone keep pulling the blanket, like they're trying to pull it off of me, try and pull it away from me. It happened the first time. I'm like, okay, knock it off. And then it happened the second time. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to register this in my memory because there's a message here coming through. I don't know what it is, but I'm acknowledging that it's there. And about 2 hours later, we had our whole family come over, or everybody who was in town. And my mother-in-law received a gift. And it was a gift that had to do with her husband who had passed, like a memorial blanket, like a quilt. It was a blanket, it was a quilt. And I'm like, oh, that's why. So he's with, I felt him acknowledging that he was with us in that moment. And that's why it happened, is because she was going to get this gift and to know that he was there. So
Wow,
that
that's
was
very sweet.
very special Christmas gift.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. What about you, Brenda?
I was just, with me, I have a connection with all my family members, so I can always tell when someone's upset or somebody's happy or what have you, and it tends to, sometimes I think my kids rely on that instead of them calling me. They wait for me to know something's going on and me call them and go, okay, who's doing what? And I feel like with Michelle, that's just another way of the universe making sure we stay connected to each other. Kind of like Hallmark. It's just an amazing way of being able to recognize not only each other, but what's behind all of that, the love and everything that's out there. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm like going through my Rolodex of moments that I've had, and I'm not coming up with any one moment that is like more memorable, I think, than another. I would say the time that I was folding laundry in my bedroom and I looked up and saw Simon standing in front of me, and I saw him with my physical eyes for the first time, and I acknowledged him and immediately knew he was gone. Like I knew as soon as I saw him that I would not see him anymore. And that was probably my most fun, and like, it's not super uplifting, but for me it was. We do have a question. Katie said, I have always felt I had psychic abilities and work every day to improve intuition. Can any of you tell what my strongest ability is and what direction I should focus on? And if I have guides around me, I get a lot of signs, but I can't see anything aside from flickering lights and vibration. Katie, I love this question. That would be something that would actually be done in a one-on-one reading. So if you're interested in meeting and having a reading done with one of the practitioners, if you email info@thesagemethod.com, we can send you the practitioner's page information. Any other final thoughts?
Davey told me to tell Katie to go ahead and meditate on it. And your guides will show you what you need to be doing. But yes, a reading would help.
Unfortunately, the practitioner roundtable is not necessarily a place for the one-on-ones like that, as much as I would love to be able to do that. So, but like I said, Katie, you can email info@thesagemethod.com and we can send you the link to the practitioner page. And you can choose who you're drawn to the most, or whoever. You know, there are more than the three of us.
Yes, most definitely.
So anything else that you guys want to say before we wrap up for the night?
Just happy holidays, everybody. Like, this is
Yeah.
a busy time of year, and
Yes, happy holidays.
lights.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle, for joining us tonight, and thank you, Brenda, for joining as well.
Thank you.
I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you, everybody else that's out there that asked the questions. We love you, and we'll see you next month.
Take care.